Welcome to Module 7, in which we are going to discuss variability about the mean. So the general idea is just like in the Module 6 videos, we want to study spread. Oops. We want to study the spread of a data set. And to do this, we're going to take the mean and then try to describe what is sort of a standard distance or a typical distance from the mean. So we want to find a typical or standard distance from the mean. So low variability, most of our data will be very close to the mean. So our typical distance from the mean will be small. High variability, the data will be farther from the mean, so the typical distance will be larger. So for low variability, let's do our standard 0 to 10, 5 in the middle, and low variability. Our data is clumped close together. Right? So here our mean, because I drew this graph to be symmetric, our mean is just straight through the 5. And we have a lot of data values that are right at the mean, right? And so they have no distance from the mean. And then we have a few data values that are 1 away, and then just a couple data values that are 2 away. So most data values are very close to the mean, where the data is clumped close to the mean. And then for high variability, the data is more spread out. So an example of how this might work. We have just that 1 dot at 5, 2 dots at 4, 2 at 6, and then 3 at 3, and 3 at 7. Right? Instead of our data being clumped on the inside, our data is actually clumped on the outsides. So once again, our mean is 5. I've made it symmetric about the 5. But the data is clumped at the outskirts. In this case, but most importantly, the data is farther from the mean. So it could just be that the data is clumped on the outskirts. It could be that the dots are just more spread out. There are various ways to have higher variability. But our typical distance here, right, we have a lot of dots that are 2 away from the mean. All those dots at 3 and all of the dots at 7 are 2 away from our mean, 2 hops away. Whereas in the low variability case, we just had those 2 dots that were that far from the mean. So this is just sort of a very base explanation of how we talk about sort of what might be a typical distance from the mean. In fact, let's just put in a line. We might say here that our typical distance from the mean is somewhere around 1 away from the mean. Whereas in this case, our typical high variability case, our typical distance from the mean is going to be more than 1 away from the mean. Again, I'm not doing any precise calculations here. It's just sort of where our typical values might fall. In the next video, we will take a look at a more precise way of measuring what that standard or typical distance from the mean is.